Want to give it a try?
I do. I love you, Charlie.
I love you too, Dad.
Dad continues on BBC One in 10 minutes after Crimewatch update.
This Is Your Life has a tradition. They don't want me to tell anyone who's going to be on their show. But I hate tradition. So here's a picture of this week's star. And now her mother knows. This Is Your Life, Friday at 8 on BBC One.
If it's Thursday night, it's Watchdog. This week, British Gas billing customers 10 times more than they owe. Plus, can you trust your bank? We hit another town at random and find yet again dozens of small businesses being overcharged. And a winning betting slip. But must the bookmaker pay up? That's Watchdog, the programme you cannot afford to miss. Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Just leave work early.
Now on BBC One, updating tonight's Crimewatch UK, Nick Ross and Jill Dando.
Welcome back. Well, a phenomenal response to several of our cases tonight. We've just heard this minute that following a car chase, a man is now in custody. And more than 250 calls on the assaults of teenage girls in Surrey. One or two very interesting leads there. Many calls on the murder of the prostitute Jackie Gallaher in Glasgow, some significantly linking names to black BMWs in the area. Nick.
Well, first, the heroics of a passer-by in Peterborough who single-handedly intervened to try to stop a gang involved in an armed robbery.
Shoot him, Graham! Shoot him!
The bullet fired at him turned out to be a blank. You recovered that blank, and you've had dozens of calls about it.
We have. We've had a phenomenal amount of calls about where you can buy that ammunition, and the number of lines of inquiry we've now got to follow on that.
OK, you don't need any more calls about Mesco cartridges.
No, none at all.
What about the gang involved, the men? Did you get any other witnesses, any people who identified them?
Yes, we've had at least 20 names been put forward by various members of the public, and we're still going through the calls we've had. Quite a phenomenal response. Over 200 calls has been received, and with quite a few names been put forward to us.
Anybody able to identify where that car was? There was a Ford Cortina, a V-registered Cortina estate, which disappeared, and you're only interested in where it was one night, which is Thursday, the 1st of August.
That's right. We've had a lot of information about Ford Cortinas, but the date we're talking about is that Cortina on the 1st and 2nd of August.
And you haven't had that call yet,
No.
which is
No.
Are you pleased overall?
I'm pleased overall with the response we've had, yes.
Good. Chill.
Well, now to the attack on the schoolgirl in Kenley, Surrey, which is now being linked to a series of disturbing assaults over several years.
What are you doing?
I'm waiting for my dad. He's a policeman.
What's your name?
Sarah. Oh, go away from me. My dad's a policeman.
Brian Younger, huge wad of responses to your right there.
Yes, over 170 calls into the studio and over 100 to my own incident room.
Interesting leads, do you know so far?
Yes, some very interesting ones, especially people who described as having a limp, which could mean that they do have a scar. Obviously, they may not have seen the scar, and yes, it's going to be useful.
Remind us again about the man you want to catch.
Right, he's 45 to 50 years of age. He's about 5'10" to 6'2" tall, slim build with grey scruffy hair. May have eczema, and as we've said, he does walk with a limp, and he's got this very distinguishable scar cigar on his left knee if people actually get a chance to see it.
We have some more clues here in the studio, as we showed earlier. The sunglasses he's been known to wear on 1 or 2 occasions.
That's right, he seems to be using those or wearing those on every attack so far, and also these sandals have been seen on at least 3 or 4 occasions. So it's an unusual combination, expensive sunglasses and everyday sandals.
And these, as I say, these attacks occurred in Kenley, the most recent one, and in the Claygate area 4 or 5 years previous to that.
That's right, over a period of 5 years, a total of 9 attacks.
Well, let's hope you get your man, Brian. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a very positive evening. We've had, on that Midlands Deceiver case, 4 names suggested. In fact, one of those names has been given by 2 different callers. In relation to the Small Heath bank robbery, we've had 1 name given by an off-duty officer for the gunman, and also an address to follow up there. Then in relation to the Kent burglary, that EFIT, we've got 2 names suggested. One of them has given details of a van with the business telephone number attached to it that we've got something to follow up on. Then moving on to London Bridge, that attempted robbery, 3 names have been given, one of them in the London area. Remember, that was the 2 characters, one very, very tall, 6'4" guy, mixed with a very short 5'8" guy in relation to that. And then lastly, Chelmsford robbery, enormous number of calls, 1 name has been given twice, and there's an address to follow up there as well.
Well, now the death of Vera Leyva, not in law a murder, but she died soon after being raped. She'd been out just posting a letter early one morning near her home at Tetney, which is near Grimsby. That was 10 days ago, Friday, September the 20th. Diana Jones is hunting for the man who attacked her and who almost certainly contributed to her death. Just got off the phone to somebody. I mean, the calls have been coming in actually surprisingly quickly and readily, considering how little you had to go on this.
That's right, we've had about nearly 40 calls actually. We have about 9 people named. We have witnesses who have actually seen this man on the Haltney Clay Road.
That's the road going out of Tetney towards Grimsby?
That's correct, and that was on the morning of the murder after the attack. So we're very pleased with the information we've received.
And there we see a map of roughly where the attack took place. It was in the village of Tetney, and more witnesses there were most improbable, but the fact that you've got other people citing the man on the road out of that village is important to you.
It's very important to us, and we also have people who are actually named within that village, so they're people that we've got to check out, obviously.
Good, thanks very much indeed.
Well, first of all, on that Kevin Eric Mantle case, again, a number of calls, all sightings in the Welling Garden City and the Luton area, and there are strong leads to follow up where the guy is thought to live, and also bars that he's thought to frequent. Then we move to Edwin Terence Willis, 1 sighting, and we think he may be in hospital, so that's being followed up now. In relation to that case too, Bristol police have called because they think they've got a case that also links in to Edwin Terence Willis. Then on Christopher Cornave, we've had 10 calls to the fraud squad in Preston. 1 is an extremely hot lead, which adds to what officers already know. And then lastly, Alfred Higgins, well, we've had 16 calls there on that Tellyshaw insurance fraud, a very positive sighting in Ireland, and detectives are following that one up, and they're convinced that the information they've been given is correct.
Well, now the murder of Jackie Gallaher in Glasgow in June. Jackie was a part-time prostitute who vanished from her pitch in Bothwell Street. A black BMW was seen around that time, and another was seen in a lay-by, where later that morning Jackie's body was discovered. Jeanette Joyce, until tonight the response had been fairly slow. Are you encouraged by things this evening?
Very much so. So far we've had over 50 calls to both here to the studios at Crimewatch UK and also to the incident room at Dumbarton, and I would appeal to the public, please keep the calls coming in.
Particularly people who saw her on that night, June
Absolutely.
the 24th.
It's vital we trace people who saw Jackie on the night in question.
Now we have this curtain here, which as we said earlier is an exact copy of the curtain that Jackie's body was wrapped in. Tell us a bit more about this.
Well, the curtain itself I believe is a one-off, because I've already said I believe it's made in a domestic sewing machine. As I say, it's a one-off, and I want to hear from the person who made that curtain. Please telephone us now, do the right thing.
And it is very long, it's about 9 feet by 5 feet, and you believe it may have been in a tenement building, or?
Well, we think by its measurements it may have been hung in a tenement building or a house built before World War II.
Now, a lot of the calls coming in have been linking names to black BMWs. You still want those to come forward?
Absolutely. Any piece of information at all is vital to this inquiry.
Jeanette Joyce, thank you.
I can confirm that while we've been on air, a man has been arrested. He's being taken back for questioning now. I can't, for legal reasons, divulge which case it is. The calls still coming in now, 10 to 12. The lines are going to close here any moment, but do keep trying if you've got any information on any of these cases. But that's about it for this month. We will be back on Tuesday night, a month from now. Remember, the 5th of November. That's for Crimewatch on Guy Fawkes night. And till then, of course, don't have nightmares, do. Sleep well. Good night.
Good night.
Wednesday on BBC One, an auntie's got out her TV favourites.
You're on Dorian's boobs. Otherwise known as the community chest.
Big Cat Diary is at 8:30. The wildebeest are on the move and the big cats pop out for a takeaway, making sure to avoid the neighbours. 9:30, and new drama starring Amanda Redman as Beck. Hot on the trail of runaways and missing persons.
Some people don't want to be found.
And some people shouldn't be found, I know that.
I'm paying you to find my son, not poke your nose into my private life.
Who disappears into thin air?
Thousands of people if no one's looking for them.
That's entertainment for Wednesday, here on BBC One.
Now on BBC One, back to tonight's film starring Jack Lemmon as Dad.